Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here and you haven't been here before, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of our videos. Today we're going to discuss something that's super important if you want to get into photography, your equipment. If you're like me, when I first started photography, I was overwhelmed by the amount of lenses, cameras, flashes, accessories, brands, all of that. I could not figure out what kind of camera to get. So instead of me doing the research and instead of me looking for a video like this, I decided that I would just go with the camera that has the most megapixels because, we all know that's what matters. But I was definitely wrong. Megapixels is not what makes all the difference as a photographer. So today we're going to cover lenses, we're going to cover cameras, we're going to cover some accessories that you can buy, and we're going to prove today that just because you don't have an expensive camera does not mean that you cannot take great photos. All right, so the first part of your photography journey is finding a camera that's right for you. So it took me a long time to figure out what camera I really wanted. I've had a total of 7 cameras since I started photography, and I've had brands from Sony, Canon, Nikon. I've had it all. I've had all different types of lenses. There isn't one that's the best. I'm not going to go down that road. The camera that you choose is going to be the camera that's right for you. It may not be the first camera you buy. You may buy a camera and then realize that that's not the one for you. But maybe this video will help you make a better decision the first time around. Maybe you will find the camera that's right for you right off the bat. The first type of camera we're going to cover is a 35mm film camera. Yes, I know people think these are dinosaurs, but they do still exist. The cameras exist, the film still exists, and yes, you can still get it developed. So this right here is a camera from the 1960s. It was mass produced in Russia. It's called a Zenit, and it comes with this special lens. If you're kind of curious about why I call it a special lens, I'm going to do a follow-on video later on with why it's such a special lens and what kind of effect it has as compared to some of the other lenses that are out there today. This camera, like I said, is a film camera. It still does have film in it. This camera, what it does is it takes the image into the lens and it imprints it on the film. And then you advance the film to the next section and then you take another picture and it does the same thing. And then you take that film and you stick it in a bag and you send it to a processing facility and they process it and they get your images and then they send them back to you. You used to take them to the drugstore or the ice cream shop or wherever you could find. You put them in an envelope and they'd send them back and you'd go pick them up later. So that's a 35mm camera, and we'll discuss a little bit more about this in some other videos. Next, and the probably most obvious and popular camera is a DSLR, or a digital single lens reflex camera. These cameras generally have an interchangeable lens, which is a lens you can take off and replace with another one. And they have a digital image sensor in the back instead of a roll of film. This is what a digital image sensor looks like in a camera, right? It's the same thing as you'd see in the negative. It's the same shape. It just takes information digitally instead of imprinting it on the actual film. So this is a Nikon. It comes with a telephoto lens. And we'll discuss a little bit more about the lens and what makes it a telephoto and how exactly it works as we move on here. All right, the next kind of camera we're going to talk about is a point and shoot camera. These were very, very popular before DSLRs got to a price point where most people could afford them. I don't have one on me, so here's a picture of one. Benefits of these is they fit in your pocket. They take really good pictures. But they do not have an interchangeable lens, and most of the time the zoom is digital and not natural, so sometimes it has different effects that you can't work with post-processing. All right, now there are other types of cameras out there. Those are just 3 of the most popular. Everybody knows of the Polaroid cameras. Everybody knows how you take a picture with that and it instantly prints. The new one is the Instax by Polaroid, and it takes instant photos that print right there after you take the picture. There are also other cameras that are medium format or large format cameras. They're generally super, super expensive, so I don't have one. I don't know a bunch about them, so I'm not going to cover them here today. So with that being said, let's move on to lenses. All right, so you all saw the Nikon D7100, and I told you it had a telephoto lens, also known as a zoom lens. What that means is that it changes magnification. So when you turn it, it zooms in and then it zooms back out. So this one is an 18 to 140 millimeter zoom lens. And you're probably thinking, okay, well, how much distance is a millimeter? Where is the millimeter measured from? What does it mean 140 millimeters? So this one is 18 to 140. The millimeter length is measured from the distance from the sensor to where all of the information that's being gathered converges inside this lens. So there's a point in this lens where all the information that's coming in that you're taking as a photo meets, and then it's reflected onto your sensor. So when this lens is at 18 millimeters, that distance between that convergence point and the sensor is 18 millimeters. Now, when I do this, you'll see that it starts to expand the optical elements or the discs that are inside of this lens, and it stretches them further away from the sensor, 140 millimeters away. And so there's all these points in between, 70 millimeters, 50 millimeters, 35 millimeters, that it's gathering that information and placing it on the sensor so that you can process that information. That's where you get your zoom. All right, so that's a zoom lens. Next are fixed lenses. So a fixed lens is just as it sounds. It has one focal length. This one here is 50 millimeters. So no matter what, the distance between the optical elements in here where that image converges and the sensor is 50 millimeters. It doesn't change. You can't zoom in, you can't zoom out. You have to use your body and your camera as the zoom in and zoom out. Another example is the 85 millimeter fixed lens. This does not zoom in, it does not zoom out. There's only a focus ring. You can focus, and that's about it. Now you'll notice with these two lenses that are both fixed that they are different sizes. So it just proves that the 50 millimeter is a smaller lens because you don't need optical elements further away, whereas the 85 millimeter, to get the 85 millimeter distance and the zoom that's on that, you have to have a longer lens to separate those elements from that sensor. All right, now on top of the telephoto lens and the zoom lens, or the telephoto lens and the fixed prime lens, you also have some specialty lenses. There's lenses that perform some various effects that are really, really, really cool. I do not have any of those on me, so I can't show you those. If you're more interested in that, I can do some follow-on videos about these lenses. Maybe I can pick some up at some point, and they really do some cool effects. And you could kind of take your photography in a totally different direction. I've messed with a couple of them about 5 or 6 years ago, and they're a steep learning curve, but they're super fun to use. Okay, so now we've talked about cameras and we've talked about lenses, and this is very basic. We'll get into more detail with some of the follow-on videos, but now let's talk about accessories, because as everybody knows, accessories are what makes you a photographer. Okay, just kidding. So the first accessory we're going to talk about is flash. So most advanced digital cameras nowadays, DSLRs, do not have a dedicated flash. There's not a flash on top. There's not a flash in the camera at all. So you have to figure out if you need a flash, if you're doing that kind of photography. And if you do, what kind of flash should you get? Some DSLRs, such as the Nikon we spoke about earlier, have a pop-up flash, right? It's very small, and I guarantee that it will not give you the results that you think you want. All right, these results from this flash will be very bright. They will harsh shadows, harsh light, It just won't look very good. On the other hand, you have lights that are often referred to as speedlights. So this is a version of a speedlight. It's made by a company called Sigma. They also make cameras and they also make some very nice lenses. Speedlights sync to your camera and you can freeze things. Here's an image of some photography that's done with Speedlight. All right, now you can use one Speedlight, you can get a trigger and use multiple Speedlights. They are very advanced and they have a lot of features. So if you do decide you want to get a Speedlight, check out our video we'll post on how to use a Speedlight and some of the techniques that you can use with your photography in order to get some super cool results with Speedlights. All right, there's also continuous lights. So as you can see back here in the corner, my wall is lit up bright blue. So this is a Godox brand LED continuous light. It's got super cool features. You can change it all colors of the color wheel. It's got flashing lights. It's got, you can make a police effect. You can have the light operate to music. It's just really, really cool. And sometimes having a continuous light is really nice because then once you set the settings on your camera for whatever lighting situation you're in, you don't have to change them later on. Another accessory that is super, super important is memory cards, right? There's so many different types of memory cards. The most common, SD cards, micro SD cards, and CF or compact flash cards. Right? I use SD cards in my camera. Some of my cameras had micro SD cards, and some of the other cameras have CF cards. One thing to keep in mind when you're choosing a memory card is make sure you choose a memory card that's got enough room on it to take pictures for the length of time you need to take pictures. For example, we'll use a 32 gigabyte memory card as an example. And everybody loves math, so we'll go ahead and do some math here. This Nikon D7100, each photograph is approximately 35 megapixels or 35 megabytes in size. On a 32 gigabyte memory card is 32,000 megabytes. So if you divide that 32,000 by 35, you get approximately 916 images. So you can take 916 images with this camera on a 32 gigabyte memory card. That's a lot of pictures, almost 1,000 pictures on one memory card. On the other hand, the Sony that I'm recording on now, the image size of each picture on this camera are 120 megabytes each. So if you take that same 32,000 megabytes and divide it by 120, you can only get 266 images on a memory card. So 916 for the Nikon and 266 for the Sony with the same memory card, just because the image size is so much larger. Now you may be saying to yourself that there's no way I'm going to take 250 pictures before I download them to my computer. Let me just give you an example here. I went to the Sierras here in Spain this last weekend, and on the first day alone, I took 250 pictures and video. So if I did not have a large enough memory card, I would not have been able to take any pictures the second day. And that's a disaster if you're a photographer, not being able to get the shot you want. Maybe it's the perfect sunset. Maybe it's the perfect pose from somebody. Maybe it's the perfect wildlife shot. But if you do not have the access and the capacity on your memory card, you are not going to get that shot. Okay, so now that we've talked about the cameras, we've talked about the lenses, and we've talked about some of the accessories, where are you going to put all this stuff? So for some of you, you might just want a DSLR with a single lens. You may just want to take vacation photos. You may just want to take family photos. Whatever it is you want to take, you might just not have the need for a ton of photography equipment. So what you can get is just a small camera bag. So an example of that is this right here. This is a super small camera bag, and it holds enough. It holds a camera with a couple lenses. It's got spots for some memory cards, some extra batteries like we spoke of before. So this will be the perfect size for somebody that doesn't need a ton of photography equipment. Now, if you want to add some extra, you can get a backpack like this. So this is a little bit bigger than the other one. It comes with the regular backpack straps. This one comes with a chest strap, so if you have a lot of equipment on there, that it'll help keep it on your shoulders and keep it comfortable. It's ventilated on the back. It actually unzips back here and has a spot for a tablet or a small laptop. In the top here, it's got space for batteries, accessories, whatever you want to take with you, memory cards, cords, things like that. On the front here, it's got the same pouches and spots for lenses and stuff as that other bag. But on the side, what it has is what's called a shotgun pouch. So you have your camera here facing out, and you have this on your back. So if you're walking somewhere and you want to take your camera out and you want to get it out quickly, you just reach back, unzip, fold open this pocket, and grab your camera out to take pictures. It's really pretty cool. This bag came with a rain cover so that if it starts raining and you're out with all your gear and you don't want it to get soaked and messed up, you can put the rain cover on. It's got a tripod foot pocket here. There's a strap that goes on the front here. You can stick your tripod in and hold a tripod so you can go take some really cool night shots or Milky Way shots, whatever you prefer. So there's tons of bags out there. You can pick a super large one that holds everything. You can camp for 3 days and have all your photography equipment. Just get whatever is most comfortable for you. That goes for everything that we've discussed today. Get the camera that fits you. Get the lenses that you want. Get the lenses that you've read reviews on or you've watched on this channel. Get what you want and what you prefer. Nobody else. That decision is yours. Okay, so that's it for today. If you liked what you saw today, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe so that you'll get more of these videos. You'll keep on learning with me. You'll keep on learning with all the other subscribers. And we'll just keep going through this journey together. We'll figure out photography. We'll learn all sorts of new techniques, all sorts of tips and tricks. And remember that a steady hand and perfect focus make for amazing shots.